Good afternoon, I'm Mahalia Joseph. C News is live.
And I'm Rishi Harinanan with sport.
Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley warns that there could be job losses in the public service. He blames former Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar for being reckless to give public servants a pay increase of 14% in 2015. At the PNM's public meeting in Mount Dore on Tuesday night, the Prime Minister recalled that in 2013, with a surplus of $17 billion from high energy prices, public servants were given an increase of 5%. He said in 2014, the government earned $19 billion and public servants were given a 9% increase. Dr. Rowley said, however, in 2015, when energy prices were at an all-time low, the country only earned $2 billion from energy revenues. But in an attempt to win votes, Persad-Bissessar gave public servants a 14% increase. The Prime Minister said it was now left up to the PNM government rather, to honor that contract.
We paid, what, $3 billion this year in back pay? And as we're looking towards 2017, he tells me we owe $3.5 to $4 billion more in back pay. And that's a contract between the government and its workers. It's a contract. And the people who are contracted in that way to get his back pay, they're coming outside the Prime Minister's office every week and they're shouting at me in case I have it in my pocket to give them.
Dr. Rowley said the government had to borrow money to give public servants their back pay. He said if oil and gas prices stay low with the country's oil production currently at the lowest ever, public servants could find themselves on the breadline.
Well, let me tell them tonight, many of you who enjoy that back pay, who's shouting for that back pay, you may get the back pay and lose your job. Because when the country cannot pay, having paid the back pay, it is your job that is in danger. And that will be a gift from Kamla Persad-Bissessar.
Members of the National Trade Union Center are set to meet with Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley today at his office at 4 p.m. General Secretary of the National Trade Union Center, Michael Anisette, says his main focus is on getting the country together to address the issue of productivity and efficiency in this tough economic period.
We don't share the view that the question of cutting wages, the question of job cuts, and the whole classical traditional economic philosophy when there's a crisis, we don't support that. We believe that the question of job growth and economic growth and wage growth is critical at this point in time.
He says he sees this meeting as a golden opportunity to put their collective wisdom together in order to speak to the issues affecting Trinidad and Tobago and, more importantly, coming up with solutions to solve the problems.
Of the board of the Port Authority today to meet with the union the issue of the fast ferry and then the issue of our local officers' salaries and the outstanding payments for port workers and also the IMA, the Institute of Marine Affairs. Issues that we'll want to place on the table on the question of pension payments for our daily rated workers.
Mr. Anisette said while it may be too late for the center's recommendations to be used for the 2016-2017 budget, the concerns will be heard and hopefully still put to use. A double murder in Guanapo leaves 2 men dead. The incident is said to have taken place at around 6:30 this morning. The deceased have so far been identified as Osama and Akil Charles. Osama died at the scene and Charles, however, was taken to hospital but died while undergoing treatment. A 25-year-old Couva woman has reported to police that she was raped while at her home on Tuesday morning. She said at about 1 a.m. she was asleep in her bedroom with a male companion when they were awakened by a loud noise. The man reportedly went to see what was taking place and was confronted by someone holding a knife. He was tied up and the suspect made his way into the room where the woman was. The assailant then stole 2 cellular phones and other valuables and escaped. Police said an arrest is imminent. While you're watching the C News live report at noon, remember you can keep up to date with all the latest news on our website at ctvtt.com, or you can check our Facebook and Twitter pages at C News Live. Jerome Henry, the father charged with negligence after his 5-year-old son Josiah Henry jumped into a river in Belmont, is still awaiting his bail to be approved 17 days after appearing in court. Now the Single Fathers Association is calling on the Port of Spain Magistrates Court to rectify the warrant document sent to the Port of Spain prison granting bail to Henry.
The secure bail, he required approval from the clerk of the peace 3. However, when they go to the clerk of the peace 3 at the Port of Spain Magistrate Court, they are saying no, that is not required, that is a surety bail, and we can take the bail at the prison. So the family is between the prison and the magistrate court trying to ascertain what is the issue.
He said he expected a greater level of professionalism from the Port of Spain Magistrates Court with such a delicate matter.
When it comes to clinical, psychological work and stuff, and he's missed about 2 sessions already because he hasn't been able to secure this bail as yet. And I mean, this is something that we're getting done, donated by some clinical psychologists, so it's something we don't have an opportunity, we don't want them to miss out on. He also hasn't had the opportunity to be around his loved ones, to grieve amongst his loved ones, to visit the gravesite. I mean, it's going a little too far now.
Here's a look at the weather forecast.
The hurricane season continues and Tropical Storm Carl and Lisa are out at sea, posing no threat to land. Meanwhile, here at home, it's been very hot and humid, and it will likely see a couple of afternoon showers being sparked in the light winds and the moist air. A high in Tobago of 32 degrees Celsius and in Trinidad 35 degrees Celsius. For those heading to the beaches, look for smooth seas through the Caribbean up to 1 meter and 1.5 meters further offshore in the Atlantic, and northeasterly swells of 11 seconds and east-southeasterly winds of 5 to 10 knots. Low tide at 2 is followed by a high tide at 8. That's the latest weather, and I am meteorologist Ian Wallace.
Caribbean Airlines could become St. Lucia's new national airline. That after Prime Minister Alan Chasteny confirmed talks were underway as the island attempts to deal with its transportation issues. Speaking on NTN, Mr. Chasteny said cash-strapped Liat could not solve all the region's flying issues, and as a result, St. Lucia is seriously considering Caribbean Airlines as its replacement. Liat's major shareholders are Antigua and Barbuda, Barbados, Dominica, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines. However, the airline has been undergoing major restructuring this year since it's consistently failed to make a profit. In a brief statement on Tuesday, Caribbean Airlines said they are currently flying to St. Lucia and welcomed Prime Minister Chasteny's statements. And let's get more on the background to this story. Here's a special report from Helen TV out of St. Lucia.
It was in July that Prime Minister Alan Chasteny told the Antiguan press that some unpopular changes would be coming to cash-strapped, complaint-ridden regional airline Liat. The former Civil Aviation Minister said St. Lucia was not pleased with the current regional air travel situation. Now his administration is looking to Trinidad and Tobago's national air carrier, Caribbean Airlines, to solve St. Lucia's air transportation issues.
I think it's very clear that Liat, as a single entity, cannot resolve all of the transportation needs that we have in this region. So my position and the position of my government has been exactly what we've articulated, that we intend to meet with Trinidad. I've had a preliminary discussion. I would like to make Caribbean Airlines our national carrier, which means that Caribbean Airlines would now be able to fly between St. Lucia and Barbados and Trinidad, and even go to Puerto Rico and go to Antigua and other places.
The move to Caribbean Airlines would be one of 2 major aviation-related decisions Chasteny says his administration is prepared to take. He says he wants to move St. Lucia away from the Eastern Caribbean Civil Aviation Authority, ECA, the body responsible for regulating aviation safety and security in the OECS. ECA emerged from the Directorate of the Civil Aviation Eastern Caribbean States, one of the oldest institutions in the Eastern Caribbean. Chasteny says he is convinced that ECA is broken and cannot be fixed.
I think it's been an impediment to competition in this region because it has not allowed other airlines to be able to come in here. So moving our aviation to Trinidad will, I believe, encourage other people to be able to open up an airline in St. Lucia or in some of the other islands.
Rumors have been swirling that the Prime Minister will soon buy his own plane and that he is leasing one at a hefty monthly sum. Chasteny says this is far from the truth. He says the allegations may have been sparked by rumors surrounding a venture by businessman Mario Reyes and a team of investors who are looking to launch a new airline in St. Lucia.
He brought me because one of the planes that they were considering to fly was the King Air. And also, I think in another 2 weeks' time, they have the Caravans coming down here. He knows of my keen interests in terms of getting this airline off the ground, but the government of St. Lucia is not in the market for a new plane. But I'm certainly going to do everything I can to encourage locals or anybody to be able to open up an airline in St. Lucia.
The Prime Minister's views on Liat are well known regionally. In July, he told the Barbados nation that there would be no funding for Liat from the taxpayers of St. Lucia. Chasney told the press conference on Monday that citizens of the region remain frustrated with the regional airline and that St. Lucia is looking outside for answers.
And we go live now to St. Lucia, where journalist Winston Springer is on the line from Helen FM 100. Good day to you, Mr. Springer.
Hi, Malahelia. How are you?
I'm good. Just for the purpose of enlightening our viewers, Mr. Springer, what sort of challenges has St. Lucia encountered using Liat?
Well, it's well documented. I mean, across the region, the challenges with Liat in terms of its operations. And Prime Minister Alan Chasney, in his former iteration as a government minister, he was a minister for tourism in the Sir John Compton-led administration, 2006 to 2007, and the Stephenson King administration, 2007-2011. It was always historically not been in favor of Liat, especially he thinks it's financially, it's not viable. He has some serious concerns about how Liat operates in terms of efficiency. So basically for years, he has been trying to find other airlines and other sources in terms of air travel for St. Lucia. And as Prime Minister now, he's continuing that mode of thought. So it's well documented that he has always been championing more airlift and other options for St. Lucia as opposed to the regional entity in Liat. And this is not unusual. It's since his election, 11-6, you've seen a certain rise in terms of looking at the national strategic interest, looking more inward, less multilateralism, and more on a bilateral level in terms of trying to get cooperation between companies or with other territories in the region. He's just keeping with a mantra that he has had for many years. So we're not very surprised by the announcement that he's reaching out to Cal, and also another big announcement that he made as well, that he wants to move away from the Eastern Caribbean Civil Aviation Authority.
Okay, Mr. Springer.
Another institution he thinks it's broken.
Mr. Springer, so what does this plan mean for Trinidad and the St. Lucia relations, despite the fact that Cal already flies there?
It's too early to tell. We don't know the details of the Prime Minister's plans. We don't know what has been said, where the negotiations are with Cal. It would be premature to jump the gun, and it would be premature to try and deduce where the Prime Minister is going with this plan. As you said, Cal already travels to St. Lucia. So we'll just have to wait and see. It's a new administration, came in on June 6, 2016. He's just unfurling his policy agenda. And one of the planks of his 2016 campaign was to get more airlift and air travel into St. Lucia. So we'll just have to wait and see how that unfolds. I would hate to jump the gun or preempt or speculate where the Prime Minister is going. But what we do know is, historically, he has often pointed at the many pitfalls and the downsides to having Liat, an entity he thinks is not efficient, and the financial structure of Liat needs to be overhauled. So it's just indicative across the region and probably the globe as well of a move away from multilateral institutions, more inward thinking by some countries, which with the rise of nationalism and looking to do what's best.
Thank you so much, Mr. Springer. We have been chatting with St. Lucian journalist Winston Springer of Helen FM 100 on the country's plan to use Caribbean Airlines as their new national airline to replace Liat. To some other news now, there's yet another call for the Tobago House of Assembly to disclose information about what is taking place with the Sandals project. Head of the CLICO Policy Alliance, David Walker, says the stakeholders have been given very little information and a limited consultation is taking place.
The first person person to walk out of the meeting, which was Patricia Turpin from Environment Tobago, walked out because she asked for a plan that people could look at so that we could have a meaningful discussion, and was told that there is no plan to be presented, and she made a, I think, sensible decision that without a plan to look at so that you know what is being proposed, then these discussions are a waste of time. You know, when they say people approve of it, what are they approving of if there is no plan?
Walker told CTV's morning show if the country is told what exactly is taking place, rumors will stop. According to Mr. Walker, the Prime Minister is heading Tobago's tourism and says this should not be, so as the THA is not having a say in its own affairs. He mentioned a desalination plant which is proposed to be built on the island.
So in fact, you've gone to a very, very advanced stage without Tobago ever being told why they need a desalination plant to start with. Is it that there is insufficient water supply? Is it that we have failed to maintain the resources we have here? And when I say we, it is still WASA that handles it. What are the reasons for the desalination plant, and what are the commitments being made?
Walker said while there have been cries of a water shortage on the island, the issue is that the current plants are operating on 30%. He said if these plants are fixed, there is no need for a new one to be constructed. Today is the International Day of Peace. The General Assembly has declared September 21st as a day devoted to strengthening the ideals of peace, both within and among all nations and peoples. The day's theme for 2016 is the Sustainable Development Goals, Building Blocks for Peace. According to the United Nations, the 17 Sustainable Development Goals were unanimously adopted by the 193 member states of the United Nations, an historic summit of the world leaders in New York in September 2015. The 2030 agenda calls on countries to begin efforts to achieve these goals over the next 15 years. It aims to end poverty, protect the planet, and ensure prosperity for all. The Sustainable Development Goals are integral to achieving peace in our time, as development and peace are interdependent and mutually reinforcing.
Jamaica under-17 football team edged Trinidad and Tobago 3-2 in one of their CFU under-17 final round qualifying match at the Attobolden Stadium last night. Goals for Jamaica came from Rowan Sr. in the 12th and 74th minutes, and Nike Daly scored in the 31st minute. Goals for TNT came from Neon Lamy in the 47th minute and Jaden Powell in the 57th minute. Coach Russell Latipi spoke with the media after the game.
But not only can I, but in this whole tournament, we suffered too many goals, you know, and our four players needed a platform that would go and win games. And I just felt that throughout the tournament, from the first game, we were chasing the game and had to make a lot of changes to chase the game. And it didn't help us, you know. We have a young bunch of players, and I thought tonight, in the second half, when we got back into the game, we just needed a bit more experience to continue to play the game we playing. I think we just,
The national hockey selectors have named a very strong women's squad for the FIH World League Round 1 set for Mexico from September 27th. The team is being led by Malvern standout Teresa Lizama and is given a good chance to advance to the next round, but must win the tournament in order to do so. TNT will next take on hosts Mexico and Guatemala, with only the tournament winner advancing. TNT's chances are boosted by the inclusion of the experienced goalkeeper Petal Derry and defender Sikai Liebert of Harvard Checkers. But youth is also well served, with as many as 6 talented youngsters making the grade, including the dynamic duo of Felicia King and Chelsea Day of Paragon and Notre Dame respectively. Both starred at the Junior Pan Am Championships hosted by TNT earlier this year. Back in 2014-2015, TNT won round 1, but could only finish 6th place in round 2. And what does Captain Kenwyn Jones and Lionel Messi have in common? Well, they could both be coached by the same man. That's because Jones' new club, the MLS expansion Atlanta United, looks set to hire former Argentine boss Gerardo Tata Martino, according to multiple sources. Atlanta's link to Martino comes as the team prepares for its inaugural MLS season in 2017. Martino has been out of work since resigning as Argentina's manager following the 2016 Copa America Centenario earlier this summer. For Argentina, Martino was the manager of Barcelona in the 2013-2014 season and previously coached Newell's Old Boys, Paraguay's national team, which he took to the quarterfinals of the 2010 World Cup, as well as Paraguay-based sides Libertad and Cerro Porteño. Former Seattle Sounders manager Siggy Smedge is also eyeing the job. Now, veteran journalist Selwyn Melville has served the Trinidad and Tobago Football Association with a pre-action protocol letter citing the TTFA's refusal to acknowledge or compensate him for coming up with the term Soca Warriors. This comes after it was discovered that the Football Association is trying to patent the Soca Warriors name in the United States without Mr. Melville's involvement.
According to Melville, the name was first used by him in a newspaper article in 2009 with the headline, "Soca Warriors Shock Colombians." He says his decision to take legal action came about from the TTFA's decision to try and patent the phrase Soca Warriors without him back in 2014 in the United States. Mr. Melville adds he had meetings with the TTFA who asked him to call his price for the use of the name.
So I said, all right, if it's a lifetime. Asked Mr. Williams what I told him 10 years ago. No VAT, no taxes, no additional things to it. I said it would have been $30 million US because it's a lifetime, and so shall it be at this time.
But what does he see as the solution?
Thing is, like I told you from the start, what I told the TTFA, let's come together, I get the trademark, we sit down and work it out, and we all enjoy the property.
He believes the TTFA has other plans in the making to deny him what he believes he is owed.
But I believe what they are trying to do, from tricks I see coming up, they would love to go to court. And then they'll tell you, well, we're in the middle of a World Cup campaign. So if we have to now fight up with the court and all this thing, it wouldn't be good for the football. So it's better we change the name.
Melville is also asking the TTFA to discontinue all foreign trademark applications and to meet with him and his legal team in order to bring an amicable end to the matter. The TTFA has 28 days to respond to the legal letter. Kent Fuentes, C Sports.
Well, that's it for sport. Mahalia?
Some news coming to our news desk at this time is that the Eastern Regional Health Authority is investigating the death of a mother and her unborn baby at the Sangre Grande Hospital. According to a media release from the ERHA, Shivani Sukram and her unborn baby passed away at the Sangre Grande Hospital. Although specific details are yet to be confirmed, C News understands the deaths occurred on Tuesday afternoon. The ERHA says it has launched a thorough investigation into the circumstances surrounding the deaths. The ERHA says it has been in continuous contact with the Sukram family to provide information and counseling. And here's a look at what's happening in the region.
The International Monetary Fund has completed the 13th review of Jamaica's economic performance. The completion of the review enables an immediate disbursement of an amount equivalent to $39.6 million US. The board made the decision based on lapse of time procedures without a formal meeting. There are reports that Caribbean Airlines could become St. Lucia's new national airline. That after Prime Minister Alan Chastanet confirmed talks were underway as the island attempts to deal with its transportation issues. Liat's major shareholders are Antigua and Barbuda, Barbados, Dominica and St. Vincent and the Grenadines. But the airline has been undergoing major restructuring this year and it has failed to make a profit. In a brief statement on Tuesday, Caribbean Airlines said they are currently flying to St. Lucia and welcomed Prime Minister Chastanet's statements. Suriname's state-owned mining company Grasalco recently secured a multi-million-dollar deal to supply crushed stone for the expansion of the Cherai-Jagan International Airport in Guyana. The US $7.5 million deal comes on the heels of Grasalco's 45th anniversary on August 30th, 2016. 300 tons of crushed stone is being exported over a period of 12 months. The first shipment of about 4,000 tons was expected to take place on Tuesday. Despite ranking 37th out of 141 countries on the Global Innovation Index in 2015, Barbados still continues to lag in innovation. And according to the Barbados Investment and Development Corporation's Chief Executive Officer, Sonja Trotman, significantly more has to be done to create the enabling environment necessary to support the commercialization of Barbadian innovations and the subsequent growth in entrepreneurship and micro, small and medium-sized enterprises. Grenada and their Prime Minister Dr. Keith Mitchell will unveil his country's 2016-2017 national budget on November 25th. The government is now engaged in consultations with various stakeholders, including the private sector, labor movement and civil society groups.
12 police officers have been injured during protests sparked by the police shooting of a black man in Charlotte, North Carolina. Demonstrators destroyed marked police cars around the block of flats where the shooting took place. One officer was hit in the face with a rock. Earlier on Tuesday, Keith Lamont Scott, 43, was shot by a black officer and died at hospital. Police say he was carrying a gun and posed an imminent deadly threat, but relatives told local media he was not holding a weapon but a book. C News, powered by a team of journalists and producers across the Republic and the region, on television, radio and online.
C News, your country, our job.